Hi, my name's Mark. I'm one of the pastors here at Trillium. I was talking to a guy recently. His son, who's in high school, has got a lot of inner anxiety, and he's taking his son to therapy, to see a therapist, getting cognitive behavior therapy to try to modify or learn techniques to deal with the anxiety. Now one of the triggers for this young man's anxiety is social media, all the interactions on social media. But another contributing element to his anxiety is this TV show called 13 Reasons Why. The series is about a young woman named Hannah Baker, a high school student who commits suicide. And it's part detective show, and it's also part social commentary. And we follow through on the 13 contributing factors that lead to Hannah taking her life. Each event, not in itself that big a deal, but the cumulative effect making it so that she just can't go on in life. And this TV show has had an impact on this young man, this guy's no son. And I'm thinking to myself as he's talking to me about this, that his son's problem, and I think Hannah Baker's challenge is they don't know who they are. In fact, we live in a culture where people have lost contact with the truth of who they are. And we've been talking a lot about this over the last few weeks, this getting knocked down and standing again element to life, this basic rhythm of life, and how we were made for this life. The indomitable and indestructible spirit that's been placed in us is built to be able to be knocked down and then stand again. And I recently came across one of those clown punching bags. Hadn't seen one for quite a while. And I started hitting it. And of course, as you hit it, it comes back. Every time you hit it, it comes back at you. The harder you hit it, the harder it comes back. And I realized that was a great analogy for who we are. As children of God, we're made to be knocked down. Not that we want to be knocked down, but when we are knocked down, we're meant to come back with power and conviction. We have this indomitable spirit that cannot be ultimately stopped. And yet the crisis of life and the anxiety that so many people seem to have today, I think is at its core built around not knowing this truth about ourselves. And because we don't know this truth about ourselves, we lose confidence in it. And this guy's son, I think, has lost confidence in this part of who he is. And Hannah Baker doesn't know this about herself either, because every time she gets knocked down in life, she does stand again, she stands again, but she's diminished by it. A part of her has been stripped away every time she gets knocked down. Until the last knockdown, she can't stand again. And people need to see evidence of this, not just in words, but in deeds. And we were looking in 1 Corinthians again at the story of Paul, and he's talking about how he's putting it out there. He's facing death every day. He's moving into the fragile nature of life every day. He's even placed in really dangerous circumstances. Why? Not to be some great hero or anything like that, but simply on the basis of love. And he's so desperate that people know this about themselves, about resurrection. He talks about resurrection, resurrection, resurrection. It's always about resurrection. It's always about getting knocked down, of course, but being able to stand again, because God has placed within us a spirit of life that's unstoppable. And he puts himself out there in really tough circumstances, and he invites the church in Corinth, the congregation in Corinth, to join him in being not just word speakers of this truth, but living it out in their lives and putting themselves in that fragile part of life with the confidence to know that whatever happens to them, they'll be standing again in the end. And Jesus himself invites us who follow him to take up our cross, which is a symbol of the fragile nature of life, and to boldly move forward into this fragile life, knowing that whatever happens to us, the power of God in us will lift us up again and put us back on our feet. And I'm realizing I forget this too, even as a pastor. And I got to keep ruminating on those words, that mantra of Paul: resurrection, resurrection, resurrection. Standing again, standing again, standing again. And when I find myself feeling anxious inside or in those fragile places, when I'm in an argument with someone or I'm in a situation I feel defeated by it, somehow I need to remember first those words of Paul: resurrection, resurrection, resurrection. Somehow I know that if I remember those words, something's going to change. And not only will I change, but somehow the world around me will be enriched by it.